Hey friends, in this video we're going to be practicing some gentle titrated movement. So basically we'll be practicing different movements up to the point of tension. And we'll be practicing when we experience tension to back off. You know, a lot of times in maybe our physical practices that we do, when we feel tension, we tend to try and push past it. And in this exercise, we'll actually be practicing the opposite. And this is just a way of honoring our own bodies again, our own nervous systems. The limits that our bodies are telling us are there. So we'll get started. So we're going to start with a head turn. So just keeping your head straight right now. And I'm going to invite you to notice which way your head naturally wants to move. So it could either be left, right, up, down, or even side to side like that. So just noticing which way your head really wants to turn. And we're just going to be doing one direction. Which way does my mother go? Oh, that feels good. So I'm going to be doing actually this way, no, that way. Yeah, okay. So we're going to do very, very small, shallow movements, okay? Less is more here. So I'm going to demonstrate first and then you can follow. So I'm going to be moving my head that way. Okay, so when I do this, I'm just going to move it. Right there is where I feel something. I'm going to bring it back. As you do this, you're going to want to coordinate your breath with it. So when I turn, inhale, and back, exhale. And this is a really helpful exercise, so you can go ahead and get started now. Very small, gentle movements until you feel any kind of tension or just something in your body saying stop. And you might eventually start to notice that something feels complete as you're doing this. And you're just feeling like you can go further after some time, or you're feeling like you don't need to do it anymore. So really honoring that, honoring those boundaries in your body. And then once you feel ready, you can come back to center, or if you want to keep going for a little bit, then you can pause the video and keep going before we move on to the next part. So now we're going to be practicing some shoulder movements. So we tend to carry a lot of tension, like our shoulders, neck, jaw. That tends to be where we hold a lot of tension, especially if we have unresolved trauma. A lot of people who have unresolved trauma, they have jaw issues. They might clench their teeth a lot. They might have a lot of neck pain or upper back pain. So we carry a lot of tension in these areas. So that's why we're focusing up here. So we're going to do some shoulder movements now. So I'll demonstrate first again, and then you can join me. So we're going to just very gently again, very shallow, small movements. Just bring our shoulders up and down. Up. Down. And again, coordinating breath with the movement. And it's amazing as you do these, sometimes you notice like just these small movements. Sometimes a lot comes up. So just notice that. So if you want to join me, if you haven't already. Like, I'm noticing my shoulders are a little bit shaky even as they go up. No, I'm noticing my body wanting to like just squeeze a little bit. So I'm going to be doing that, and I invite you to try that out if that feels like something you're drawn to. A lot of times when we feel tension in our bodies, we just try and stretch it out. We just try and kind of push it away and do the opposite. But when our bodies are experiencing tension, a lot of times it needs to have the tense and the release. And that will actually kind of complete the action that your body wants to do, if that makes sense. Just to explain that, expand on that. So when we experience a threat, our body, it gears up to have a response to that threat. So let's say someone's running at me and I have an emotional response come up in my body, a surge of energy, and my hands want to go out like this to stop them or push them away or keep them away. But if that action gets blocked, or I can't do that for some reason, we see this happen a lot with people who maybe experienced abuse in childhood, with parents where you couldn't defend yourself, and it was repeated enough, that the energy that came up in your nervous system in order to do that self-protective response, it actually gets blocked. And so that's a lot of times why we have chronic pain and chronic tension in our bodies, is because that response is looking to be completed. And so when we do the tense and release, or the tense and release, it actually helps complete that response, so it can bring back the homeostasis, that level state, that rest of our nervous systems. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to finish up that shoulder exercise, and now we're going to be doing the same thing with our jaws. Now our jaw holds so much tension. This is the one that I find when we do this exercise, it can bring up a lot. So again, be gentle with yourself. Don't bring your system into overwhelm through these exercises. Don't force yourself, because then that will have the opposite effect that we want it to. So I'm going to demonstrate first, and then you can join me. So what we'll do is we'll just open our jaw and close very gently, very small movements again. And when we do this, we don't want to hold in any position too long, because that can be actually overwhelming for our nervous system. So it's titrated movement. We go back and forth very gently over this tension point. Okay, so we'll get started here. So open, close, open, close. And as you do this, you might notice that sound wants to come out, and this can be, sound is really helpful in resetting your nervous system. So just allow that to come out if you're in a space where you can. So I could do something like You can get louder too if you feel drawn to that, and just really letting out sound. And you might notice that your jaw starts clenching, so just keep going with this. And a lot of times when we release things, it'll bring up yawns. And it's a good sign that something's happening in our nervous system. Okay, so I feel pretty complete with that. So I'll invite you to keep going until you feel complete without pushing yourself. Okay, and just bringing back some stillness once you feel ready. And we'll just take a moment after that one. That was kind of a big one. So we'll just take a moment and orient again to our surroundings. Take some time and just come back. And look at things that you like in your surroundings. Take your time. Be curious. And then when you're ready, bringing back some stillness. Okay, so that's it for this video, so I will see you in the next video.